What if I told you that ancient religious prophecies are actively influencing modern wars? That millions of people around the world are waiting, even hoping, for a specific conflict to unfold in the Middle East? Today, we're diving into one of the most controversial topics in geopolitics: how certain Christian beliefs about the end times have shaped American foreign policy and the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Stay with me, because what you're about to learn will completely change how you see international politics. To understand what's happening today, we need to go back to a specific set of Christian beliefs that emerged after the Protestant Reformation. These beliefs center around something called dispensationalist premillennialism, a complex term for a straightforward idea. Here's the core concept. Certain Christian groups believe that before Jesus can return to earth, a series of specific events must occur. First, Israel must exist as a nation, which happened in 1948 after nearly 2,000 years of Jewish people not controlling that land. Second, Israel must engage in conflicts with its neighbors. According to this interpretation, these aren't tragedies to prevent, they're necessary steps in a divine plan. This belief system isn't just held by a small fringe group. Polls suggest that tens of millions of Americans, particularly evangelical Christians, subscribe to some version of this worldview. And when we're talking about tens of millions of voters in the world's most powerful military nation, these beliefs start to have real-world consequences. After the Reformation, a new theological movement developed called Christian Zionism. This is distinct from political Zionism, though the two became intertwined over time. Christian Zionism teaches that Christians have a religious duty to support the Jewish return to and control of Israel. Why? Different Christian Zionists give different reasons. Some point to biblical passages they interpret as God's eternal promise of that land to Jewish people. Others see it as a prerequisite for end times prophecy to unfold. Here's where it gets controversial. Within this belief system, Jewish people play a specific role in bringing about the return of Jesus. Some interpretations of this theology predict that when Jesus returns, most Jewish people will either perish or convert to Christianity. Critics argue this makes Christian Zionism fundamentally problematic. It positions an entire religious group as a means to an end, rather than respecting them on their own terms. It's worth noting that many Jewish scholars and leaders have expressed discomfort with Christian Zionist support for precisely this reason. They recognize that the support comes with an apocalyptic endgame that doesn't align with Jewish theology or interests. Now let's talk about America. While the United States was founded on principles of religious freedom, not as an explicitly Christian theocracy, Christianity deeply influenced its culture and many of its early leaders' worldviews. Over generations, certain interpretations of Christianity, including Christian Zionism and dispensationalist beliefs, gained significant followings in America. Today, these beliefs aren't just held by ordinary citizens. They've influenced people in positions of power, including members of Congress, presidential advisors, and military leadership. The United States provides billions of dollars in military aid to Israel annually, more than to any other country. While there are many strategic and political reasons for this relationship, religious beliefs play a role that's often underestimated. For politicians seeking support from evangelical voters, one of the most reliable voting blocs in America, demonstrating unwavering support for Israel isn't just policy, it's practically a requirement. Political Zionism, the movement for a Jewish homeland, emerged in the late 19th century, largely in response to persistent persecution of Jewish people in Europe. But here's something many people don't know. Early Zionism was actually quite controversial within Jewish communities. For centuries, most Jewish people saw Judaism as a religion, not a nationality or race. A Jewish person in Iraq considered themselves Iraqi who practiced Judaism. A Jewish person in Poland was Polish. Their religious identity didn't erase their cultural and national identities. Political Zionism challenged this view by arguing that Jewish people constituted a distinct nation that deserved sovereignty in their ancestral homeland. This was a radical reimagining of Jewish identity that many Jewish people initially rejected. The Holocaust changed everything. The horrific genocide of 6 million Jewish people demonstrated the urgent need for a safe haven. In 1948, the State of Israel was established, and thousands of Holocaust survivors and Jewish refugees from Arab countries found sanctuary there. However, this created a new problem. The land wasn't empty. Arab Palestinians had been living there for generations. The establishment of Israel led to displacement of hundreds of thousands of Palestinians, creating a conflict that continues today. So now we have a convergence of interests, but interests based on very different motivations. Christian Zionists in America support Israel because they believe it fulfills prophecy and brings humanity closer to the end times. Some actively hope for conflict between Israel and its neighbors, particularly Iran, because they interpret this as necessary for Jesus' return. Meanwhile, Israeli leadership, regardless of their personal religious beliefs, recognizes that Christian Zionist support in America translates to military aid, diplomatic protection, and political backing. Whether or not Israeli leaders believe in dispensationalist prophecy, they benefit from others who do. This creates what critics call a moral hazard. If Israeli leaders know that America will support them militarily no matter what, in part because of religious voters who see conflict as divinely ordained, what incentive exists for peaceful resolution? If American Christians believe war in the region is actually a good thing that advances God's plan, how does that affect diplomatic efforts? To be clear, this isn't the only factor in Middle East politics. There are legitimate security concerns, historical grievances, competition for resources, and complex geopolitical calculations. But the religious dimension adds a layer that makes the situation even more intractable. Here's an uncomfortable question. Why do these end times beliefs keep gaining followers? One theory points to something called the Pax Romana effect. During the Roman Empire's peak, the Pax Romana, Roman peace, meant fewer large-scale wars. Sounds great, right? But extended peace without social reform can lead to entrenched inequality. Without the social disruption that conflict brings, wealth becomes increasingly concentrated. Similarly, since World War II, we've lived through the Pax Americana, a period of relative global peace maintained by American power. But like the Pax Romana, this period has seen exploding inequality. Billionaires accumulate unprecedented wealth, while millions struggle with housing, healthcare, and basic needs. When people feel economically hopeless, apocalyptic religions become appealing. If you're a delivery driver in a major city, working 60 hours a week and still unable to afford housing or think about starting a family, what does the current world order offer you? Not much. Dispensationalist premillennialism offers something powerful: the promise that this unjust world will soon be destroyed and replaced with something better. It's essentially a lottery ticket that costs nothing. You don't have to organize, protest, or challenge power structures directly. You just have to believe, support the right policies, and wait for divine intervention. So what does all this mean practically? It means that conflicts in the Middle East aren't just about territory, resources, or security. They're also about competing religious visions of how history should unfold. It means that rational diplomatic solutions face irrational obstacles, not because people are stupid, but because they're operating from fundamentally different frameworks. If you believe that regional war is a necessary and even positive step toward divine redemption, you're not going to prioritize peace negotiations. And it means that millions of ordinary people, Palestinians, Israelis, Iranians, Americans, are affected by policies shaped partly by theological beliefs they may not share or even understand. Understanding these religious dimensions doesn't mean we accept them as inevitable or unchangeable. Awareness is the first step toward having more honest conversations about foreign policy, about the ethics of using religious groups as means to other ends, and about how we might build a more just world without waiting for divine intervention. The conflicts in the Middle East are real, with real human costs. The religious beliefs we've discussed today are held sincerely by millions. Whether you find these beliefs inspiring or concerning, they're shaping our world right now. And that's something we all need to understand. If this video changed how you think about these issues, leave a comment below. And if you want to dive deeper into how religion and politics intersect, check out the resources in the description. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.